Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Iron Port. This program is proudly brought to you by Syrian Insurance, Gold PLC, the Ghana Revenue Authority, Ghana Link, Meridian Port Services, and Phoenix Insurance. Our proud media partner is the Business and Financial Times. This program is powered by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority. Now, this week, we are taking a look at logistics, and we want to examine the relevance of logistics in continental trade. We had in the studios 3 experts to take us through this particular subject. Let's take a listen.
Logistics in itself comes in to serve as the lifeblood of any operation that ensures and facilitates trade. It actually makes trade happen. But the key factor here is that everything that happens right from the upstream to the downstream is all meant to ensure that the customer is delighted. The customer in this sense would vary depending on the product or the value chain that you're looking at. So when we talk about trade and we're looking at how trade works, what we're just trying to have a better understanding of is, with regards to the entire supply chain, how do we ensure that whatever products that are needed by the customer is able to get right through all the channels that are required and still get to the customer in the state and condition and integrity within which the customer is able to still get utility and value out of. And that is what so as a matter of fact, it has to do with the pre-production, which has got to do with the initial raw materials and all that, and then you have the transformation phase, and then you have the post-production phase. So those would be the 3 main components of the entire supply chain, based on which, depending on the value chain, we can now break it further down and ensure. But there are other activities also that happen within it. For example, transportation, because that provides the various linkages between one activity and the other. Packaging, that ensures that it gives the aesthetic view and makes the product attractive for the potential buyer, and also provides a lot of information by way of the labeling, amongst other things. So these are just a few of the areas that I think that, in a broader context, we could look at the function of supply chain logistics.
All right. So how would you describe the state of logistics currently?
So in terms of our general trade, the current state of logistics is a bit fragmented. A lot of the time, we tend to look at logistics and supply chain, the external of our internal market. Now, what we're trying to do is to promote continental trade. And to ensure that we're able to promote continental trade, one of the things that we're always looking at is how the products can get out of the country. So you're looking at how we harmonize custom procedures, which are currently a bit a challenge, because even in terms of how we quote our HS codes, depending on where it is going, different people have certain different understanding as to how the HS codes are quoted. We need to be able to harmonize even the processes that are within there. We need to be able to determine the kind of documentation that is required. Within the context of AFTA, the various protocols have provided some of these requirements by way of documents and other processes. And then also, it is also very important that as we go along in terms of facilitating trade, we look at the internal of the country. Because, if we are not able to backtrack and look at how the supply chain systems within our own country are structured, it becomes very difficult to be able to sustain the push of the products that we want to get onto the international market. So in summary, what I would say is that we have a kind of a fragmented supply chain system. In terms of connectivity, we have a challenge with regards to connectivity, and I'll give you an example. About 2 weeks ago, we were in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe, for the CILT's Africa Forum. To get to Zimbabwe, which probably would take us maybe about 5 to 6 hours direct flight, we had to go through Addis. There was a layover. We continued the following morning to get to Victoria Falls. What we are losing there, we are losing time, we are losing man hours, which we could have been using to do other things as well. So in terms of issues of connectivity, we have a bit of a challenge. In terms of even the manpower that is required, because logistics and supply chain as it is very dynamic. and keeps evolving by day. We are introducing a lot of technology, we're introducing a lot of other areas, especially now that we want to integrate our supply chains. So that also means that in that area, we also need to be able to look at how we are building capacity, because currently, in terms of the skills that is required to be able to ensure that some of these are actually done and done well, we have a bit of a challenge with it. So in general terms, I would say our supply chains are a bit fragmented, but therein also lies opportunities for Africans to be able to take up some of the opportunities within these supply chains and then move them forward to facilitate trade.
Okay, so let's move to Amui and then find out from you. I mean, you heard what he said. He said the supply chain is fragmented. Do you also hold that position?
The logistics is the coordination of the movement of transportation of the goods that are bought and sold from the point of the supplier to the point of consumption.
Very well.
Very broadly defined like this. And my interest with regard to the importance of logistics for trade is dual, because logistics supports trade. Logistics is a derived demand of trade, actually. If there's no trade, there's no need to transport. If there's no need to transport, there's no need to coordinate what you are transporting. And that is one area why logistics is so important. But also, logistics is an industry. And just as another industry, let's say the cocoa industry, transport is an industry in itself. So the status of this industry in the various countries in Africa, as well as across various countries, is important because it is a service. Transportation is a service.
Very well.
Just as you buy and sell goods,
Yeah.
transportation is a service that you buy and sell. And the status of this industry is of equal importance if we were to ensure the connectivity, which Mr. Wujanji was talking about
Very
earlier.
well.
If we don't have free movement of goods and people and information and finance across, for our own purpose, Africa, then we cannot be globally competitive. We cannot connect well to the rest of the world. But more importantly, we cannot connect well to ourselves. So I agree with him that connectivity is the key issue here. And when I think about the African Continental Free Trade Agreements and the area it's creating, the free trade area across Africa, it is obvious that we are not well connected to ourselves and we are not connected to the rest of the world. And so I would like to think of this agreement as a catalyst to help us accelerate our economic development across Africa.
But it's been about 3 or 4 years now.
It has been a while
so,
coming, but keep in mind that some of the countries across Africa are coming from different points. Some of them are coming from really far behind with regard to the status of their industries and their economies. And so it's important that we not to delve too much into the AFCFTA at the moment, at least, but just to identify 3 main pillars which are important for the acceleration and development of our economies. This takes us to the next point, which is the marketing and the trade of these goods. Once you have your goods, you identify the markets across the region, from where to import and to where to export it to. And then you get to the logistics of actually moving the goods that you have produced locally from the points of sale to the points of to purchase. And then to identify the challenges along the logistics of moving the goods from one country to the other. And most of the time, that is where you start to delve into the hard infrastructure and the soft infrastructure. So the roads, the border infrastructure, the actual hardware that you need to move the goods around, and then the soft infrastructure, which is the governance issue, the non-tariff measures, the business environment, and so on. So it's a very complicated issue.
Lawyer Adomako, but can you tell us, I mean, I know you deal with the SMEs a lot. I mean, in all these, how are you supporting them to be able to overcome some of these challenges in the logistics chain for them to survive?
I think logistic, as my brother said, is a chain from pre-production, production, but unfortunately in Ghana, one thing I've realized is that most people who are in businesses, they want to become 100% owner of all the processes. They want to own the raw material, grow the raw material, transport the raw material to their factory themselves.
Jack of all trades.
And at the end of the day, their efficiency reduces. But we are beginning to see a new paradigm in Ghana where businesses, SMEs, have started seeing the need for them to specialize.
Okay.
And so some businesses they have decided not to even own a truck. They rather prefer businesses supply them those truck services. And as the economy develops, people will have the business cases to be able to grow a logistic ecosystem around the businesses that we have. But currently, I would say that if you find yourself outside Accra, it might be difficult in getting some efficient logistics to get your production or your businesses running. I know a factory, there's a poultry farm in Tamale that is able to slaughter close to 500 birds daily. And they need to be able to transport them to other parts of the northern part of the country. They don't have access to a cold chain delivery. But of course, most of the cold chain are in the southern part of the country. And so if someone can decide that, look, I have the cold chain truck, that van that can transport your good for you, then you, the poultry farmer, you will be much more concerned about the production of your birds and not to think about owning a truck, a cold chain delivery. And so until we understand that some parts of the business should be left to others to be able to provide. But of course, most SMEs are also concerned about predictability. Because if you want to mortgage, if you want to transfer, if you want to allow a company to provide you some services, the very point that you need it, the company says, please, sorry, we didn't get your request on time. Sorry, our truck is broken down. We don't have fuel. That means that if you are produce perishable products, most likely that your product will go waste. And so there's also a need for businesses that decide to go into the logistics around what people are doing to be responsible in terms of what they tend to do. And also the cost structure is also another big challenge. In fact, West Africa alone is seen as one of the most expensive places to move logistics. Some years ago, the World Bank published a study, and that said that they quoted New Jersey in the east coast of the U.S. as the cheapest area to move goods. West Africa is also the highest area. And until we are able to also address the high cost of logistics, the law runs the consumer who pays for these goods and services. And we need to also look at how do we confront the principalities of high cost of logistics in Africa. Because unfortunately, if you live in West Africa, a lot of things tend to conspire against you. Almost everything you have is, even we grow food products in our farming communities, but when it comes to Accra and Tema, it's so expensive.
Very well.
And when you go to most countries where they don't even grow anything there and everything is transported over the Atlantic, it's still cheaper when it gets there. Why? All because of what? The logistics systems and how inefficiencies are also driving high cost to consumers at the final end.
And what he's saying is something that we are very passionate about as logisticians in Africa and in Ghana. And basically, it's about emphasizing the need to promote the need for an African framework for short sea shipping. To connect our various ports to each other. And the second one, to explore the inland waterways, which God has given us. We have inland waterways, we are not using that. They need low maintenance. And it's something that we are very passionate about, Taliban and myself, in Ghana and elsewhere.
The fact that government has no business in doing business does not mean that government should close its eyes. Government can sometimes identify some emerging areas and call the private sector and tell them that, look, if you can do this, we can support you on this. Now, by 2030, for example, Africa need an additional 2 million trucks to be able to move goods under the AFCFTA. We need close to 100,000 railway wagons, 250 aircrafts, and then 100 vessels. Currently,
100 vessels.
Yeah, 100 vessels. And all these things are the demand that we'll need in 2030. How many years have we got from now? 6 more years. We'll close our eyes, and then 2030, then the Indians and the Chinese and the foreigners will come and take over.
So about 30 seconds.
So I think to a very large extent, we really need to put our acts together, produce a lot more.
Okay.
And I think it needs to be an intentional activity, mainly because of the fact that if we do not have the production base, we may not be able to get the volumes to be able to ship, and then the cost still increases. I support the fact that we need to be able to invest a lot more in our own lines, be it shipping lines, airlines, and all that. Because if you look at even the concentration of aviation traffic in Africa, you just understand why we are not that connected. And I think to a very large extent, logistics in itself is something that all of us should get active in. And I call everybody to join in ensuring that we advocate for a lot more logistical the debates and discussions going forward.
All right.
All right, so those were the experts telling us the importance or the relevance of logistics in continental trade. Iron Port retains after this break.
Guys, now I'm tired. I'll go on a date with whoever gets here first.
Princess, really? Okay, I dey come.
Shut up!
Mame, feel me talking about what? Boss, fill my tank with Super XP Ron 95.
Blow up with Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP high performance products from Goyle.
Sorry, Tony got here first, so I'm stepping with him.
Oh, cut him. Hey, go for mami.
Choose Super XP Ron 95 and Diesel XP for an energizing driving experience. Always go for Goyle Super XP Ron 95. Goyle, good energy.
Goyle is good energy. Electricity. Then pay your taxes. Yeah. Our taxes, our future.
Because you see, without our taxes, we wouldn't have good roads, good schools, better hospitals, street lights, and other very important social amenities. When we pay our taxes, we give our children free and quality education. Talga, my money too small. Why should I pay my tax? Look, small. Salifo, it doesn't matter how small or big your business or income is, you still have to pay your taxes. The little taxes from each and every one of us, when put together, could give your community clean water or that deprived school with tables and chairs. Please pay your taxes. It is your responsibility. It is your civic duty. It is the law.
Impressive factory. If only I had listened to you, I wouldn't have been in this mess. That devastating fire virtually wiped out the whole factory and my warehouse.
Remember my misfortunes last year? Serene Insurance Asset All Risk Fire policy that I took were there to pay for my damaged stocks in the warehouse, and my machines that were affected by the floods have been replaced. My accident vehicle is back on the road thanks to Serene Insurance motor policy. Currently, my goods are on the IC covered with their marine cargo insurance policy. I was just telling Ajima about Serene Insurance.
Oh, Ajima,
tell him more.
As a road contractor, I make sure I do my contractors all risk insurance
for the projects, and then workers' compensation for all the workers on site. With Serene Insurance, they will make sure they will cover your unknown tomorrow today.
Serene Insurance, a new face of insurance. Call us now.
MPS Terminal 3 is Africa's new state-of-the-art container terminal at Tema Port. For manufacturers, agro-processors and traders, the new port means business can be done faster. This infrastructure boost will improve Ghana's port handling capacity, connect more trading routes, and oil the engine of growth for the economy, creating greater opportunities across all sectors as Africa's markets merge and become the largest trading bloc globally. MPS, we connect, you thrive.
Business and life can be like the sea sometimes. Sometimes serene, sometimes calm, sometimes turbulent, and at times it brings the unexpected. However it is like, trust Phoenix Insurance for your home, car, business, and marine insurance needs. Call 0302-246-319 or 0243-690-492.
At Phoenix, you experience a delightful service delivered with wisdom.
Welcome back from the break. Now, news and activities happening within the port and maritime industry next.
Workers of the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, together with other agencies under the maritime sector, were duly represented in the 2024 May Day celebration. The program, which was under the theme Election 2024, the role of workers and social partners in securing peaceful elections for national development, was held at the Independence Square at Accra to acknowledge the roles and contributions of workers in nation building. The Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Meridian Ports Services, Ghana Shippers Authority, Ghana Standard Authority, Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, Fisheries Commission, and other agencies represented the maritime and dock workers sector. The President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, disclosed that government is in the processes of enacting a new comprehensive and contemporary labor law that protects the interests of all actors in the labor force.
Organized labor has shared the burden of government and made sacrifices that ensure recovery and stability. The least I can do for the over 11.5 million people in the labor force and the next generation is to enact a new labor act that is comprehensive and contemporary.
The Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress, TUC Ghana, Dr. Yauba, called on workers to work hand in hand to promote peace in the country.
Each and every Ghanaian must do whatever he or she can so that together we can achieve peaceful election in December this year.
Meanwhile, in Takoradi, workers of the port of Takoradi joined their colleagues in other institutions to partake in the May Day parade at the Ghana Secondary Technical School Park. The Western Regional Minister, Kwabna Ochrida Kumensa, commended the labor force for their enormous contributions in their specialized domains and urged them to collaborate in order to fortify worker solidarity for the nation's advancement.
A joint Customs Consultative Committee meeting has been held to discuss ways of improving trade facilitation and promoting effective collaboration among stakeholders in the port clearance chain. JCCC is made up of representatives from key stakeholder groups in the maritime sector, such as Customs Division of GRA, Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority, Ghana Link Network Services, Meridian Port Services, Council of Freight Forwarders Association, Ghana Standards Authority, the Food and Drugs Authority, among other agencies. The Assistant Commissioner of the Customs at the Tema collection, Christiana Odieje, assured the commitment of Customs Commission to resolving the challenges associated with uncleared cargo list.
We are working feverishly to ensure that at least when the UCL list is prepared, we will be informed about those that are for transit, so that we can in turn inform the reps, that's the various Chamber of Commerce for Niger, Mali, and the other people, so that they are also aware that these are transit containers that are going on UCL, so that the importers or consignees can be informed about the containers.
A member of the ICAM's implementation team, Charles Okai-Janoa, encouraged stakeholders to provide positive recommendations that will enhance work growth.
We also want to say that our doors are always open for any suggestions for improvement. And we are also here to answer questions related to some issues that may be bothering you, that you believe that there should be an improvement.
The Executive Secretary of the Council of Freight Forwarder Associations, Nana Fredua Oforiata, urged the GRA and relevant stakeholders to balance revenue maximization with trade facilitation so as to increase traffic through the ports.
Even though we are in the middle of a recession, GRA Customs should tamper revenue maximization with trade facilitation in order to bring back the traders who have diverted costs to our neighboring ports.
The Stakeholder Engagement Manager at the Meridian Port Services, Charles Osafo, took participants through operational activities at the Terminal 3. The Head of Import Inspection at the Ghana Standards Authority, Stephen Edu, gave a presentation on the statistics on trade compliance for the year 2022 and 2023.
The Module 8 of the Support to West Africa Integrated Maritime Security Project has been held at the Regional Maritime University. The EU-funded project is a 9-module program which consists of Introduction to Maritime Security Environment, the Maritime Security Functional Areas, Legal and Police Frameworks for Advancing Maritime Security, Blue Economy and Maritime Environment, Maritime Crisis Management, among others. The Module 8, which seeks to address complexities of safety and security in the marine space, had participants from the Navy, Maritime Administration, Port Authority, Marine Police, and even judges drawn from countries like Ghana, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, and Niger. An electrical engineer and an old student of the Regional Maritime University, Juola Hiable, who was a speaker at the program, drummed home the need for security and safety in the maritime space to be enhanced, as he shared his experience as a captive for 1,000 days after their vessel was hijacked by Somalian pirates in the Gulf of Guinea.
We realized that our captain tried to do defensive maneuvering, and within about 15 minutes, everything subsided, and our bosun came and shouting, "Colleagues, come out, come out. Your ship has been hijacked by Somali pirates. Come." And we came out from our hideout. We climbed to the officer's deck. Climbing to the bridge, we saw this pirate wielding an AK-47 and he asked us to put our hands on our head.
The coordinator of the SWAIMS project, Engineer Augustus Adilamte, revealed that the module's goal was to help maritime industry actors understand the consequences of maritime crimes.
Shipping carries about 90% of international trade. So if anything affects shipping, then it's a challenge. And you can see COVID times. It took shipping to let the wheels of industry run. So this particular program was set up to make sure that the actors in the maritime industry appreciated the main effect of maritime crime. And this has more to do with kidnapping for ransom.
He added that the model thrived on collaboration and cooperation and urged for interagency collaboration among players in the value chain.
The national executives of the Ghana National Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists have lauded the state-of-the-art practice AI application focus of the GPHA Takoradi Hospital's 2024 Lab Week celebration. Unlike the generic National Lab Week theme dubbed "The Lab is Everything," the sub-theme chosen by the Ghana Ports and Harbours Authority Takoradi Hospital was the future of lab services in Ghana and the application of AI. The president of the Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists, Dr. Abu Abudu Rahamani, described the AI-focused sub-theme of the GPHA Takoradi Hospital Lab Week celebration as a pace-setting initiative in line with the international trends, as even most Ghanaian labs are yet to catch up on the trend of applying AI to medical laboratory operations.
Artificial intelligence has come in to revolutionize the work space when it comes to medical laboratory. We know that currently the trend is not as high as we expect in the system. Most of the laboratories are now understanding, they are now trying to strategize in terms of application of artificial intelligence in our workspace.
The GPHA Takoradi Hospital Administrator, Dr. Helen Tete, also explained the reason and preparations that went into this year's Lab Week celebration.
One of the things that we seek to do as a hospital is to provide a one-stop shop healthcare to our clients. And so not only in terms of consultation, but also in terms of the lab support. Thankfully, we've been able to acquire certain equipment which GPHA management has done so well to help us acquire so that we can do most of the lab tests that our clients need.
Other activities that took place as part of the GPHA Takoradi Hospital's 2024 Lab Week celebrations included health education, free screening for the post community, and donation of free 100 glucometers to diabetic patients. We have some international news next. The March 26th collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge and subsequent closure of the Port of Baltimore has led to the diversion of containers originally bound for Baltimore. According to an analysis by Project 44, shipments are now primarily being rerouted to New York, Norfolk, and Newark Elizabeth. Despite these diversions, overall port dwell times at these ports have not increased. However, the dwell times for rerouted containers are showing a significant upward trend, hitting up to 85% higher than the overall dwell times, the analysis shows. Project 44 reports that last week, rerouted containers in New York had a median dwell time of 1.4 days, while the overall median dwell time was around 2.75 days. This indicates that rerouted containers in New York are experiencing delays of up to 50% longer. 4 months into the Red Sea diversions, liner shipping seems to have absorbed the disruptions, with the major container carriers showing the first upward movement in 5 months for schedule reliability. Analytics company Sea Intelligence, in its latest report on container carrier schedules, reports the first monthly improvement, achieving nearly 56% reliability in March, which puts the industry back on par with the emergence of the pandemic. Late arriving ships also reduced their weight by more than half a day to levels similar to November 2023. They calculate that the container carriers improved their reliability by 1.6% in March 2024 versus the prior month and achieved the highest level so far in 2024. It's now time for the phrase of the day.
Act of God. Act of God refers to accidents of a nature beyond human control, such as flood, lightning, or hurricane, which are usually quoted as force majeure.
Now, schedules of vessels in the port, those at anchorage and those expected in the coming week, plus the Bank of Ghana exchange rates you need to know to clear your goods from the port next. Let's take a listen to some comments you've been sharing with us.
Gordon from Tema says, how does supply chain affect productivity in the maritime sector? Well, Gordon, the supply chain consultant said The maritime sector actually forms part of the supply chain, which is a series of connected activities that facilitate the movement of goods from origin to a desired destination, with the product being delivered in its original condition of utility. As a result, every activity within an area of the supply chain will invariably affect other sides of the supply chain, albeit sometimes not readily noticeable. The maritime sector is one of the key facilitators and also a key beneficiary of a highly effective and efficient supply chain system.
So that's all for this week's episode of Iron Port. Thank you for watching, and thanks to the entire crew. Join us same time next week.